Okay, we're live. And she looks a little greasy here on her neck because she had some a new flea preventative, Brevetco. I was getting it for the dog, but they have it for cats now, and it covers several types of worms and fleas and ticks and everything. But they didn't have any fleas, but I figured I'd just get it just as precautionary because they do go out on the catio and the outdoor cats have come close and a flea can jump. So she got a treatment and it's cold and rainy and they're very dissatisfied with me. Hi, Angie. Hi, Melanie. So we did do a tiny bit of thrifting this weekend. We didn't buy a lot, but I was going to share. I saw this copy of Walden by Henry David Thoreau, and I've never read it. So I thought it was time I read through this one. Um, it's just a really good one. And this is a soft cover. I got it for $1. It's one of those Dover thrift editions. So I'm hoping there's no pages missing or any of that. Because sometimes with these small books like this where they only charged $2.50, sometimes they're a little dodgy and pages could be missing or misprinted. But I figured for $1 I would read some, and it is just raining here and miserable, so that's perfect. And I think I said hi to Teresa, but I'll say it again. And apparently she's not going to move. So the next thing I found I got for $1.99, and it's all these cafe curtain clips. And what I'm thinking is maybe I have a bunch of quilt squares cut that are kind of small, like maybe 2 inches square. I'm thinking of making a couple panels and maybe just back it with muslin and just make them as some small curtain to go between the storm door and the door into my room. So doing that, I'm thinking maybe if I put a curtain between those two, if I propped the screen door open and left my door open into the room, the cats could still go in and out to the porch on, warm days, but not hot days. And then maybe the flies won't get in like they do right now. And I'd also thought maybe I could do a curtain that I could, or a panel, and then these would just clip onto it. That was one idea. And the other was to maybe make some panels. And on my room here, on one side of the fireplace, there's a little cove where I've got like my plastic shelves that hold bias tape. All the tiny bits for crafting and sewing are on that. And I thought if I made a nice colorful quilt panel, oh goodness, and hung it on a rod over there, it would kind of cover that and keep the dust out of there quite so much. So, and for $1.99, there's a lot in here. I haven't even counted them. So I got that. And then the last thing I got was these. You made 40 more bowls. Wow. These crochet hooks, they were $2.99. And I took the tape off from the bag. And I've already looked through these, but I thought I'd show how many I got. I'm going to toss this bag because it's sticky from where the tape was on it. I was hoping there would be a size L hook in here because apparently I don't have one, and I keep coming across patterns that call for an L hook. So I'll keep looking. And for $2.99, I can't buy a crochet hook for $2.99, a single one. So I got an N, and then I think this one's a K, and this is a K. So I got 2 Ks. And this is a J. I think this is a J as well. That's a J. And this is a J. And a J hook in the USA is a 5mm hook for those that don't do letter things, and these just say K on them, so I can't tell you what that is without my little chart that's in the back. So I got one N, two Ks, three Js, and the J hooks are the most popular size to use with 4-ply yarn, just FYI. And then this one is God, I can't even read it. It says size 9 or an I. This is an H, and it says 5 millimeter. Oh, this is the J's are 6 millimeter. J's are 6. So I bet if this one is an H and it's 5, this one's probably, this is an I, this is probably 5.5 millimeters. And then we've got a G, two G's, which is, it says it was 45 cents. So that's how it tells you how old those hooks are. And then this is a steel hook, and it's just the size 0. And then this one here, I just thought was cool. It must have, I don't know what it came with. It's it says size 5, but it's got this funny little end on it there, and it's really tiny. So I don't know. That's probably really old. I think it's plastic. And then this one, I had opened them in the car as do you know what millimeter is an L? I don't, but I have a little chart in the back. You can get a little guide for your, it's a little metal guide, and you can slide your hooks through, and it tells you the millimeters. I'll run back and get it just a sec. And I started laughing, and Scott's like, why are you laughing? And I said, well, I got this hook, and it's got the narrowest little hook on it. And then I started looking, and it says Clairol on it. So you know what this is for? Remember the 70s when we were all getting our hair frosted? This is the little hook you would stick through the holes on the cap and pull just a few hairs out. And then they'd put that gray frosting stuff on it. So woohoo! I outbeat the frosting phase. I'm all frosted now. And I didn't even have to pay for it. It just happened. So I just thought that was hilarious that there was a Clairol, a frosting hook in with all these crochet hooks. Let me run in the back and get that guide so I can tell you what it is, Teresa. Hang on. sorry about that. I have pulled it out of my box and it was inside my knitting table thing. Okay, what was the size you were asking about? You have an 8, 9, and a 10. So an 8 is an L, the 9 is an M, and the 10 is an N. So you have L, M, and N. L, M, and N. So the L, that's the one I need to get because it's to use with the bulky yarn, size 6. Well, I was just going to get one. I mean, if you're not going to use it or you don't think you will, I'd love it, but you don't have to send it to me. I'll keep looking. It's okay. But this little guide is really handy. This gives you a stitch gauge here. And along here, it's the millimeters in size along the top. And then the knitting needle sizes are here. And then the crochet hook sizes are there. So the crochet hooks are in letters. The knitting needles are in, I would say, millimeters. No, that's millimeters. So I guess the knitting needle sizes are different. That's interesting. So an 11 knitting needle is an L crochet hook or an 8 millimeter. That is interesting. So if you had the stitch guide, the stitch gauge, knit or crochet a 3-inch square swatch, place the knit check over it, count the number of stitches and numbers of rows per inch. If more or less than specified, try a larger or smaller needle until you have the required number of stitches and rows. So this is kind of a guide to see if checking your gauge. Most of the time the pattern will tell you so many stitches per so many rows will give you a 4-inch square. But if you had this little tool, this is also a good gauge to have. Oh, if it's an extra, I'll take it, Teresa, because then I would have it. And what I've done is I didn't, hold on. I'm going to grab something else. Oh, I just need to turn that timer off so it doesn't drive us crazy. It just means I can start mixing up the cookies I'm planning to bake to make the house smell good and to warm it up a bit. And I'm going to lift this up. So bear with. And I'm wearing my cat shirt today. And my niece always tells me it freaks her out because there's too many eyes watching her. Woo! So I have this basket. And what this is stuff that I had wound into cakes already. And I currently have 3 on the go right here. So hang on. 1, 2, 3. And I started this blanket because the pattern called for the L hook and chunky yarn. Well, I didn't have the hook or the chunky yarn. So I said, well, I've got all these cakes already rolled up. If I hold 3 of them together and I'll use the hook I have that's closest to the L, which is the K, JKL. So this is a slightly smaller, and this is all done in moss stitch. This is the pattern. You can go on Yarnspirations and get it. And the pattern actually called for 6 balls of the Bernay felted yarn. So you would need almost 1,500 yards or 1,400 meters to make this. But it's done in moss stitch, which is a single crochet, chain 1, single crochet in the previous chain spaces. And this is going to be so warm, but this is what I've done so far. This is my project I work on when I'm waiting for Scott to come on to bed, because it takes him forever to wind down at night. So, and I think the finished size was supposed to be like 50 inches by 60 inches, excluding the fringe. And I'm not going to put the fringe on, because any crochet blanket I've seen where they've added the fringe over time, that looks so dodgy. And I haven't measured this, so I don't know how big this is wide yet. But it is dense like a mat. Look at that. But I'm holding 3 skeins together. And what I'm doing is, when I run out of a color, I just replace that particular one with a new color. And that's what I've been doing here. And because the dark purple, I have a lot of it. So when the dark purple runs out, I'll just grab another dark purple. But the other 2, I'm going to rotate between whatever color I grab. And I've got in here is like cool colors. So I've got different purples. So I could use a light purple, which I did at the beginning of my blanket. But then I've got like this weird green, and I've got a sage green, and just all kinds of greens, purples, blues, all different kinds of blues. These are left over from the Hexie Afghan I did. Do y'all remember that one? I'm almost tempted to put that on the bed. Not quite cold enough. So that's what all of this is. And I'm just doing that moss stitch. I had a little trouble at the very beginning of it, and I counted the stitches until I got used to where I needed to start and end every row. And you can see I'm doing pretty good. It's staying really straight. And it's just a really easy stitch. Oh dear. Wait, I've got the wrong one. And it's just single crochet, which is UK double, and a chain 1. And you work into the previous row's chain space. So you do a single crochet, chain 1, single crochet, chain 1. And then when you get to the end, you start the row with a chain 2, which will count as your first single crochet and the chain 1 space. So when you get to the end, you got to remember you have to end with a single crochet in that last chain space. So I just love the way it's just easily morphing from one color to the next. And the dark purple just continues all the way through, and you're not getting the true colors. The true colors are more over to what's over here than in the light. Because it's not this blue looking thing that I'm getting, but that's pretty close. Let's see. Yeah, and I'm thinking this could be a gift for Greg's girlfriend. At least I think I'm doing pretty good as far as keeping it straight. We'll see. But so I got that. And I haven't done a stitching update in a while. So I thought I would do this and real quick after my thrifty haul, since the thrifty bits were real small. And then I've started this sweater, and this is knitted, and I don't think I did the arm sections long enough, so I might have to pick the stitches back up and add a row or do something. I don't know. I'll do something. But this was the back, and actually this is the right side of the back. And then when I started doing the first side of the front, I realized something. My stripes are never going to match because of the way the color changes, and I'm not going to be that fussy. But I'm almost to the part where I need to do a little bit out one way or the other for the arms to meet. So if I put this down here, I don't know what side of the sweater this is supposed to be, but I can see that I'm really close. It might be easier for me to put you guys back down to show you what I mean. But you see how my stripes are way different because I'm going a shorter distance. But that'd be like that. And see, I think I need maybe one more row, and then I'll add the sleeve bit out. And I need to know how to do I did this according to a little reel I saw, and I just don't know. I'll have to look that up again because I've already forgotten how to do that. But you add more stitches. You know, you get to the end and then you add more stitches, you know, to make this more, you have to add more stitches on, and then you just do it all the way across from the center to the end of the arm. So I'll have to look up how to do that again because I don't remember it all. And this one is also, that's the blanket. This is also a free pattern for this little sweater, and it's at Peyton's Yarn, and you're supposed to use Bamboo Baby, but I'm using whatever this thrifted yarn was that didn't have a label. And it makes this little cute sweater, and depending on which side you put the buttons, it'll be for a boy or a girl. But this is very pink. But to me, colors don't have genders, so that's irrelevant. But anyway, if you wanted to get this, you have to go to WW Peyton's Yarn. I think that's how you say it. And the pattern is for cozy cardigans to knit for the baby. And it's in 2 languages. But I'm currently working on either the left front for the girls or the right front for boys. So I guess this is a left front, and then I'll do the other side. And then you have to I don't quite understand how to do buttonholes on knitting. So I might have to get with somebody on that. So that's the knitting that I'm doing right now. So I'll set that aside. And then I've got my knitting bag that I made. I made knitting bags for the folks that are in my Monday knit group or stitch group. And anybody can join that if you guys want to. It's meant to be an hour on Monday, but we always run longer. But anybody that was in there, I had made a knitting bag, either like this or I've been waiting to send this one off, but I did the big ones for the ones that show up, consistently all the time. And then for those that don't, I made these smaller ones. And what's good about these is if you're like traveling somewhere or having to wait in line, you can put this over your arm and just keep knitting away. And your ball of yarn stays down inside. And I did put a little pocket to hold, whatever. And that's who that's going to go to. But I was waiting. And I did put a little sheep charm on each one. Got those off Amazon. And I also put Handmade with Love on the back because I have a bunch of Handmade with Love labels that I need to use up. So what's in here, another free pattern, because that's me. This is Lion Brand Easy Sleeveless Top. And I won't need to have this finished now until next year. But mine is not solid because we went thrifting a little while ago. And I bought a bunch of this Peyton's Grace. And so I just went looking for a pattern that called for this size of yarn. And I'm using a 3.75 millimeter hook. And I'm just making it up as I go along. And this is where I'm at. And this, I think, is the back of it. So this is the back of it so far for a sleeveless top. And you can see I'm doing a repeat of 3 rows of the green and then a blue. And then for this blue spot, I did the 3 and then 1 blue, and then I did 4 blues, and then I went back to, no, it's 2 of the green, 1 of the blue. But then right here, this is 1, 2, 3, 4 rows of blue, just to put a blue stripe in there. And then up here where I was forming the curve in the armhole, I didn't want to do any color changes, so I just worked that section in all the green, and then I went back to my either 2 or 3 rows. I can't remember how many rows that is. It's 3 rows. 3 rows of green. But I think it's turning out kind of cute. It'll be very weird looking stripes, but it'll be all right. We'll make it happen. And I've been using these to mark the different points where I had to change stuff. The little kitty cat charms. So that's my 3 crochet knit type things. I'm also working on some hats. Is this the hook that goes in here? I think it is. And I would show you the hat I finished, but it's on Scott's head because he claimed it. So I'm like, I'm supposed to be making hats for the homeless, not you. But every time I make a new hat, he goes, "Oh, that one looks nice and warm." And then it's on his head and gone. Okay, that's fine. And then I wanted to also just mention this because I didn't know this was a thing. It's E6000 plus. It's a low odor E6000. Not sponsored. I just picked this up on Amazon. But it's a multi-surface, all-weather adhesive, indoor and outdoor applications, which I didn't know they made one that was low odor. So I wanted to share that. If your E6000 is in the state that mine is right now, my old tube is so hard to get out of the tube. And it's so mangled. So this one's not as bad as the one my sister had in her classroom because she couldn't get the lid off hers in the classroom anymore. So she had a box of sewing pins, and she would just jab a sewing pin in and then squeeze out of that little hole and then stick the pin in. So she's got this E6000 with all these pins stuck in it. I said, that's dangerous. But I told Scott, I said, I'm going to order myself a new tube and then we can throw that away. So anyhow, that's all I wanted to share. I'm going to go mix up some Toll House cookies that are done as bar cookies because ain't nobody got time to sit there and dole out teaspoons of dough and then wait on it to bake today. Yes, she has a porcupine. I don't know how she squeezes the tube without getting stabbed, to be honest. So, did you share the pattern with us? I can put a link to all of these patterns. I'll do that when I sign off. I don't know which one Janet was interested in, but I'll go and find the links and I'll put them in my description box. So if you any of the sleeveless shirt, the baby sweater, and then the Afghan I'm working on, the only thing different with the Afghan is I'm not using chunky yarn. And I'm using 3 strands of yarn that's generally 4-ply, but you know, like some of that is Karen Simply Soft, and I don't call that a true 4-ply because it seems slightly thinner than, say, Red Heart. But I'm holding 3 strands together and I'm using 1 size smaller hook. So instead of an L, I'm using a K with the 3 strands. And I find I can do about 6 to 8 rows on that blanket each night. And it just gives me a time to just, slow down, just sit there and just crochet and not think about anything. And the tote I made, for which one? This one or the little guy? Because this one is drawn up from 2 different Pinterest links. So one Pinterest link had the instructions on how to put this together, but they're all like in Japanese or Chinese, and thankfully they have beautiful pictures. So I can see if I can get those instructions. And then this one, I'll have to look and see if I can find it. But both of these bags were pretty easy to make. So I will look for the bags patterns and all of the patterns for the projects I'm currently working on. And so both of those bags were bags that were sent out to the stitch group. The regulars got the bigger bags, and the ones that just come every once in a while got the little bit smaller bags, but they're both useful. And yeah. All right. Thanks for helping me with that, Teresa. Thank you. All right, I'm going to let you guys go. I know that P&M was on, and if you guys want to go see some really cool art, head on over there now, okay? All right. Well, you just take care. No rush, Teresa. No rush. Bye, guys.